one of the things that I realize and recognize about myself is I'm a generally happy person. You know me. I'm pretty cool, right? But the times I feel the most devastated are when I feel like I let somebody down. And often for the client, that's like my worst nightmare is to let them down in some way. Now, many times they have unrealistic expectations and it's not fair.
All. My therapist once said to me, she was like, do you think there's a problem with you giving grace to yourself all the time? And I was like, should there be?
I've worked really hard to be able to actually create the space to do these things that I'm realizing I'm passionate about, which is more about me being part of the creative and also being paid for my mind and not my labor. That's what I want. I don't want to be pushing it up the hill. I don't want to be the one moving the sofa into place anymore. Like I want to have teams of people who can do that, but I want to be free. I kept saying, I want to be free. And they were like, freedom don't live here.
Welcome back to the Hustle Adjacent Podcast. I'm Kelly.
And I'm Arianne.
Okay, today we're talking about saying no.
Yes.
And why that sometimes gets labeled as like villain behavior or drama.
Yeah. And my question is it a villain error or is it just simply setting boundaries?
You know, this episode is going to be about protecting your energy without over-explaining.
Yes.
You know, soft life is the ability to say no, right? And it requires you saying no. And so this feels really appropriate for how we're kind of resetting everything and kind of looking back or looking forward for what's next.
Yeah. I think the goal for this episode is really to talk through and process in real time how we can use no as a practical tool and not a personality shift. That's kind of how we separate it from being labeled as a villain versus just setting healthy boundaries. And I also want to emphasize that we are not experts. That should be like, you know, the first thing that we say. Okay, I am not. I am certainly not an expert. This is definitely a stretch goal in life for me is to just be better about the boundaries that I set. And so...
No, when we talked about this episode, what did I say? I was like, I don't know if this is a good episode for me because I don't
You really
set
did.
boundaries.
That's right. And so, yes, let's talk about how this came to be. I really felt passionately that, you know, as I have decided to be in this soft life aspiring phase of life, I've had to learn to say no. I've had to learn to say no as a full sentence without explaining. And I've had to release any guilt I've had about it, especially when I feel like the people I'm saying no to are resisting the new way of moving. Like, you know, it's almost like you're a villain because you said no. And so just like the recovering people pleaser in me understands that there's a struggle in this and that there's a lot of growth and you have to be really committed to it and you have to know why you're saying no, which is why we talked about being a tool. But you were like, I don't think that's relevant because I never struggle. I was like, but you are Kelly. And that is like such a gift that you don't really...
I think it's a perception issue, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm not a people pleaser per se. But I know I have difficulty saying no to my clients, right?
For sure.
Or taking on the burden of things that were not my fault and things like that. So in terms of people pleasing, I know that comes from the client. I think on a personal level, I'm not a people pleaser. Like I'm not trying to hurt feelings but I don't really know if I care that you might get upset with me because I, want to do one thing. Yeah, I don't know. I think it's perception because I think it's fair to say that I probably have a little bit of what you're talking about, but the way I perceive it is a little bit different.
And one of the things we also talked about in one of our prep calls was, we were really actually talking about real life scenarios, not the podcast, but we talked about other things too. But one of the things in our discussion of kind of where we were with this particular scenario was that we as designers are very empathetic. Meaning we can understand the struggle of the client, what they aspire to have happen, the experience that they want to have. And we do everything we can to give them that, which means saying yes and over committing ourselves a lot. Like examples would be working late nights, working holidays, promising a client that we can have, yes, you decided to spring on us that you're going to host Thanksgiving this year. So we're going to do everything we can to make sure that your house is in place by Thanksgiving. But the reality is, we really aren't the only people that it takes to make that happen. And we often work with people and companies that don't people please and don't overcommit and don't overpromise and honestly don't even meet the promises they made. But that's a whole other.
And don't care.
They don't care. And
contractors just don't give a shit. It's crazy.
It's crazy.
Anyway.
But we're caught in the middle because we are the communicator. That's where we get caught up. We are trying to balance what we want our clients to experience and what, we don't want to be the no for them. If you need your sofa for Thanksgiving, I don't want to. I think this is the example you gave. I don't want to be the reason you don't get your sofa. But the reality is the delivery company's not coming.
Right.
They're not, like, you right?
Or the house ain't clean.
Ready or clean. They're still painting.
And then you're going to be mad that this $10,000 sofa is sitting in this room that still is getting sanded.
Yes.
On the fireplace.
Yes.
Right. So I think, but I think we're the communicator, but we're also the fall guy for everything.
Yep.
Because we're the communicator, because we have probably the closest relationship with the client, they're like, well, the contractor didn't do this. Then how's that my fault?
Right. We've earned their trust and now they feel comfortable pushing back on us and saying, why isn't this, really expressing their displeasure, which is kind of where you get in real time these boundary issues, right? Because, boundary number one, when the client says, I need the house done by Thanksgiving, and knowing that it's going to take everything, including a whole lot of buy-in from that contractor to make it happen, instead of saying, yes, we can make it happen, maybe being like, I'll try, but probably not likely, right? Like,
I never say that.
No, I never
either. I'm so bad
about
it.
Me too.
I always give best case scenarios.
Me too. I'm going to give myself...
Then it bites me in the ass.
Right.
Like, it's so bad.
I will give myself a little credit. In this past few years, I've gotten better. This year specifically, I was like, nope. Like, it shocked me how quickly that word would come out of my mouth. No, nope, not doing it. Not because I understood the cost.
Yeah.
That's what this episode is about. When you overcommit and when you don't have healthy boundaries, you have to be willing to assess the cost to you.
Yeah.
What are you sacrificing to do that? Sleep, peace.
And you're able to figure that out in real time?
Well, I would say in my experiences this year, it has been an out-of-body experience where the no came out before. But I think it's because I'm doing so much work on myself in all areas where I'm like, you got to get to the root of your things.
Yeah.
What makes you feel compelled to always get best case scenarios? What makes you feel so compelled to always want to, not overachieve, but over deliver? What makes you feel compelled to, one of the things that I realize and recognize about myself is I'm a generally happy person. You know me. I'm pretty cool, right? But the times I feel the most devastated are when I feel like I let somebody down. And often for the client, that's like my worst nightmare, is to let them down in some way. Now, many times they have unrealistic expectations and it's not fair.
All.
It's not fair. But that's what I realized on the back end was compelling me to overextend myself.
Yeah.
So then to understand that and to go, okay, let's play that out. What's the worst that can happen? They could be disappointed. Would they be disappointed more if you told them yes and couldn't make it happen, or that you told them no? And in the background, actually something worked out. I could figure out, now I'm over delivering.
That's what you always want to do.
You know what I'm saying?
Under promise and over deliver.
And I think just thinking through that is why in certain scenarios this year, when faced with something that was going to put me back in that same cycle of over promising, working a weekend, having to work long hours for something that really wasn't going to move the needle, it just came very naturally to me to say, no.
Yeah.
Not doing it.
Yeah, it's so funny because I think it's all a perspective thing, right? Because I'm not terribly concerned with somebody being disappointed in me.
Yeah.
Like, so what, right? At the end of the day, people disappoint me all the time, right? I think my issue or my version of people pleasing is because even though people think I'm mean and serious, I am actually very empathetic.
Yep.
And I tend to put myself in all these situations. So for example, like when I hire somebody, I know that every one of my hours is not worth the same amount of money. I don't charge hourly because of that. I charge what I believe the value of the project is or what I'm bringing to the project. Because you give me at 8 o'clock in the morning, man, that hour is going to be worth. You give me after lunch.
Yeah, different hour.
You should just, I should cut this in half almost, right? And so I think that I tend to see myself as the client. And honestly, that's the only time I give in. When I say, if I was this client, how would I feel about this situation?
Right.
That is literally the only time.
Yeah.
And so because of that, it holds me to a higher standard that I then have to like acquiesce in ways that do not really work with boundaries.
Right.
It's funny because one of my things is I make plans. Like, I'm going to go work out. I'm only going to have a drink at this bar. You know what I mean? I make these kind of statements. And then I'll get there or I'm in the bed and I'm like, I ain't getting up. Like, because I got grace for myself. I'm going to give myself grace. I'm not going to be mad at myself. Like, why would I? I must have needed that extra few minutes in the bed.
That is beautiful.
I must have needed that second glass of wine. Like, it's all these things that I am not very hard on myself.
Yes.
And my therapist once said to me, she was like, do you think there's a problem with you giving grace to yourself all the time? And I was like,
should there be?
Should there be? I mean, she was like, I'm not saying it is. And I was like, well, you know, the only thing I would say is that because I give myself so much grace, I give people a lot of grace.
Yeah.
I mean, you scream at me all the time because I'll be like, oh, this person did this.
Oh, and I'm ready
and
to fight.
And you like, where's she at?
Listen, fun fact, can we just have a quick detour? Because what you really need to know, you just need to know this, if you're going to ride with us this season, is I am the gangster of the two of us.
Yeah. I'm the softie.
It's so true. Like, I would love to live I want to be Pollyanna. I want to be kind and sweet, and I am. For myself, not so much. I don't give myself as much grace. I actually have the opposite conversation with my therapist. Like, you should give yourself more grace. But for someone else, like when something happens to someone I care about or I love, I'm ready to fight. I'm like, oh no. On principle, I'm done. You should be done. And no, you did this and you did it. And now I'm not going to lie, but if you did the right thing, I'm going to tell you all the reasons you did it right and all the things that they didn't do. And you told me that they said, and I'm going to have your back. Hardcore.
She be
and will not
crazy.
Look back. I do. I will not look back.
And I just be like, like, I hope they get syphilis, but like, I'm not going to make a big deal about it.
Not syphilis. Okay, I'm not wishing syphilis on people.
But I'm like, I let it go, right? And not to say I'm going to go back and so I can get bad treatment again, but I just like, okay, I'm never going to talk to that person again.
Yeah, that's my thing. I mean, listen, I am a gangster, but I'm not going to go cut you. I just cut off.
Yeah.
Like, my cutoff game is very strong on behalf of people that I care about. That's the thing that's the gangster about it. But with all of that being said, I think, you positioning yourself as understanding what the client needs, that's what a lot of people in service-based industries who do it well, that's the struggle. It's like, we can see and empathize with the other perspective. Right. So that's why it's important to keep our word. That's why it's important to make sure that when, we show up well, that's why it's important to really listen and process the impact of something. So the sofa was going to be here on Thursday. I told you it's going to be here on Thursday. I got an update from, the shipping company that it's now going to be 2 weeks
Next
late.
Week.
Why wouldn't I call you and tell you? You might not be happy with me, but
I ain't carrying that sofa on my back.
Right. So, it's just that being caught in the middle, which I think it's easier to parse out on the professional side. You're trying to set the boundaries. It's a professional relationship. I think where it gets a little bit more difficult is in your personal life with friends, family. That's where you kind of sometimes get that villain moniker. Like, if you were always available to go out or to do the things, and now you're not because you're taking your extra hour of sleep or, doing your self-care. Have you been in a situation where, well, probably not you because you don't care.
And I got so much FOMO. I also never cancel.
Yeah. That's true about you.
I will say no.
Yeah.
Right. Or I will make other opportunities. So for example, we had family coming in a couple years ago and I just didn't feel like the house was ready. I was going to be stressed trying to fit all these people out. I will go book you a hotel room.
Yeah.
I will pay for it. I mean, it's in Macon, so it's cheaper enough. But like, I will pay for it.
Yeah.
And it will make both of us happy.
That's
and
right.
I know this feels crappy to you that you're coming all the way down here and you have to stay in a hotel. But I think we'll have a better time.
Yes.
And so I think I am comfortable in making those statements and don't feel bad about it.
Yeah.
But I also, we were just talking about that. I never cancel plans.
You don't.
I never, you call me and you want to go somewhere, I got work to do, so what? Let's go.
Yeah.
I'm a ride. I only work so I can eat, drink, and travel.
That's right.
My other motto used to be, life is short, live it up, drink it down.
That's a shirt. Wait. Where are you coming up with these mottos?
You know, I told you when they used to have those little portraits back in the day, you would put a little motto under it. Like mine said, life is short. And then I wrote one for my husband and it said, life is actually really, really long. Because he's so serious.
the ballad. One day we got to get him on as a guest just to see the power dynamic.
He would be like, y'all crazy.
And we are.
Yeah.
And we are. Okay, so maybe zoom out from us. Because, I admit to struggling. You're like, I really don't care in some cases, especially on the personal. But why do you think high-achieving women get labeled as the villain when they decide to set healthy boundaries? Or do you think that they get labeled
I guess I wouldn't even say high-achieving women. I think that there's an expectation. I think there are women who never set that expectation.
Yeah.
Right. I think especially in this generation, this new generation, I feel like they are very clear on what they're going to do and what they ain't going to do. So ain't nobody going to think.
No.
They might think they're not fun or whatever like that. But I don't think they would get that that label. I think it's more when you've created an environment that people feel like they just expect things of you, but you've created that environment. That's right. And so it's when you change that environment that it becomes a problem. Yep. And I think that's with all relationships, right? Like you are growing and you're changing what you will accept, what you will put out. You might want more from a partner or whatever. Like all these things are changing consistently if you're growing at all. And it's just the nature of the beast. And it seems like maybe we're in a phase right now where there's just so much. The good thing about social media is that we all have access to information that we probably didn't have access to. So people who need that push to set boundaries, like there's some thread on Threads, there's like some hashtag, I can't remember what it was, but it all started with this woman whose husband agreed to have some birthday party at her house and he didn't ask her beforehand. And she was like, I ain't doing it. And so everybody came over and nothing was done. And it was like, but she was sitting there just having a glass of wine, right? It's actually, it has a great tag too. But anyway, so it started this whole, now there are all these other people saying, this is my moment.
Yes.
Where I decided that or my husband wants to do this, or my mother-in-law said this, and like all this. So it's really, I think it's just, there's much more information out that people now know they have the ability to do that. They also know when people are treating them poorly. Right. Like
and abusing it.
Right. The number of the number of things you read and comments of like how people's partners don't respect them or don't do it. Like I just think it's more information out there. And I hope that means there'll be more women mainly, but more people setting those boundaries early, and therefore it won't be a switch.
Right. Because that is part of it. Part of it is, the choice to have boundaries does happen reactionary sometimes. And it is a hard switch. And other times it's like I'm growing, I'm learning, and I'm adjusting, incrementally. And I think there's two different ways of experiencing that on the other end. But one of the things that I think is interesting in all those conversations that you talk about with social media, to me, one of the underlying themes is that the person on the receiving end of that switch is upset and maybe labeling you as a villain because you are revoking access. You are prioritizing yourself, and you're looking at whatever that situation is from your benefit first.
Yeah.
And that's the difference. That's the energy shift that they feel that doesn't feel good, because before you've centered them.
Yeah.
Right?
You were willing to do everything they
accommodate, whatever it is. And I can imagine being an empathetic person on the other side might be a little jarring. But I think in those relationships, friendships, dynamics, if there's a healthy bit of accountability on both sides and a conversation about how they got there, and then an agreement on these are the boundaries and why, then there's room for growth and continued prosperity for those
I
relationships.
Agree with that, yeah, for sure.
So do we feel like there's a general hostility that comes with boundaries, or does it, case by case how you handle it?
Yeah, I think it's, I think that's another one of those things, like, who cares in a way? Like I think you have to be comfortable with your boundaries, and then like you may know that people don't like them, but you also don't care because you've made that decision for yourself. Like, I'm trying to think, something happened recently. I'm not gonna remember, but if I do, I'll come back to it. But it was like, I made a choice and I was so happy with my choice that, like, I mean, it may even been like I was supposed to go to some brand trip or something, and I decided at the last minute not to go. I'm sure they were pissed with me or whatever. And I remember looking like at the pictures of it. I was like, I'm so happy I ain't there. And it was just so rewarding as a FOMO person.
Yeah.
To be like, so what?
Yeah.
I don't care. Like, I don't I don't care about that brand being mad at me per se. It was what I needed in the moment, and therefore I didn't do it. So I think that when you are truly comfortable with that boundary, you won't be as concerned with hostility.
Yes.
I think there isn't a component of it, right, where you probably need to make sure you're not just coming up with boundaries to come up with boundaries and you're not being ridiculous.
Right.
Because what I was actually going to say, I want to make sure we say also that as I'm talking about these stories that I read about or whatever, that I also made a choice to get off that part of social media at some point, right? Because I felt like, when you're reading all these stories about people's spouses doing them wrong,
you don't want
you be looking at your spouse like, come on now.
I know. And that's not fair.
That ain't right. And so it's even like, I don't have certain conversations with certain friends about my spouse.
That's right.
Right?
Yeah.
If they're not in that mind space, I'm not doing it. Now, I ain't saying I still be bitching about him all the time.
It's in your privacy of your home.
It's not, I'm not getting fed that all the time. And so that's why I think sometimes people talk about boundaries when it's just them being an asshole.
Right.
Or them not wanting to do something.
Right. It has to be, like we talked about, it's a tool to create more capacity for the things you want to say yes to, which one of the things that when our planning session for this episode talked about was, the contradiction between the year of yes and the year of no. And that was your favorite, take on this was the year of no. So I remember when Shonda Rhimes a couple years ago had this interview where she became very famous about talking about it was a year of yes. She just was like, I decided.
It's a book.
Yeah. Oh,
I read the book.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good for you. I have not. I just got the interview in the clip notes.
Yeah. No, I read the book.
So yeah.
And I remember reading the book like, gosh, she boring. Like,
really?
Not like, I'm sure she's a lovely person.
Yeah.
But her point was like, she literally just says no to everything.
Yes to everything?
She says no to everything. So
gotcha.
she literally, you be like, hey, you want to come to this premiere? Nah, I'm going to stay at home. And so the year of yes for her was she had to say yes to more things. So she had to get out. So it was the exact opposite. And I remember reading it because, I say yes to everything anyway. I was like, I need to have a year of no.
Yes.
I need to have a year of no where I look at things and I have to like really want to go. Otherwise, I'm not going.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm kind of focused on. I said I was going to do that 2 years ago, and I never did it. But I'm going to try it again this year where I have this year of no, where if it ain't perfect or something that's been on my bucket list, whatever, I'm not doing it.
Yeah. I remember hearing about the year of yes. And, the thing to know about the year of yes is on the other side of that came so much growth for her, right? So it was like, by saying this is what I took away as the thesis when I was still in my hustle mode, was by saying yes and having courage and taking the leap, she grew and she experienced the world and life. And so that's true too.
Yeah.
But both things could be true, that you are saying yes, you're growing, but you're also burned out and overwhelmed. And so I have been saying yes for the last, I think, 2 or 3 years. It's been like since I heard that and being inspired. And that's just my nature also, to be like, leap and the net will appear. I'm just going to jump. So I said yes. But I will tell you, in that last 2 to 3 years of saying yes, one of those years for sure was the first time I've ever been burned out, where I literally did not want to leave my house, did not want to look at work. The thought of going into the office made me cry. Like I just had overcommitted to too much. Now, committed to great things. That did bring me growth. Like on the other side of it, amazing. But is it sustainable, right? And so I love the thought of, the balance between the year of yes and the year of no, and taking the year of no and making that a positive. Like
maybe it's
making
a year
that
of
the focus.
More no.
Right. Like, like not just saying no, but also like pausing and being thoughtful. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think you're already at that point, but I still have things like, for example, we get invited to all these different things. If, first of all, it ain't completely paid for. If I got to drop $1,
that's right.
I ain't going.
If it costs me.
Because if I got to drop $1, I'm going to go where I want to go.
Now that I'm getting there with you.
I'm not going on a trip where you provide me with accommodations.
Right. Also, what are the accommodations?
And then what, you don't want me to fly there in economy minus? Come on now. Like, no, I'm not doing that. So I think that's one thing I've learned.
Yeah.
I think maybe I went on one trip last year and I was like, nope. This is all the nopes.
Yeah.
All the nopes.
All the nopes. No, it has to be the right yes. And it has to be worth it to me.
Yes.
Because there is freedom in the boundaries. It's kind of like when they tell you when you start having kids and raising kids, they say, if you go to the parenting classes and read the books, they say,
I did not.
You did not?
We gonna wing this.
Well, we kind of hybrided it. But I remember in those classes, they talk about, especially someone like me who's a big softie, kids need boundaries because it lets them know where to play.
Yeah.
They find safety in the boundaries. Right. And that made sense to me for kids. They even tell you that when you get a puppy. Puppies need boundaries or pets, whatever. It's only in the last few years that I've learned that applies in other areas of life as well. When I was working in an office with multiple employees, let me tell you, first couple months, all big fun. I had no boundaries. I was like, yes, you can go to Starbucks at 10.
Yeah.
Yes, you can. Like, because in my mind, you were going to self-regulate. Like,
right, but they don't.
But then I was like, oh,
They
wait,
don't.
you don't realize we got to be working. Oh, okay, so now I got to sit back. That felt like a switch. That's like, now you got to be on time. You can't just roll in 15, 20 minutes late. You got to stay till 5. You got,
It's supposed to be 40 hours, sucker. That's my big one.
It's optional.
Every week you get 38, but you burnt out.
It's optional. But you know who's not going to do that? This new generation of girls. Like, we both talk about our young ladies, adult teens, preteens that are growing up. And I have never seen a person, especially in my interaction with my mini-me, who is so comfortable saying no.
Good Lord, these girls say no like with a straight face the first time.
Yeah, like, and it's a complete no, not.
My favorite memory is somebody was like, Zoe, let's go play over here on the swing. And she was like, nah, I don't want to go play on the swing. And she was like, come on, we all going over to play on the swings. And listen, I got FOMO. I also fall easily to peer pressure.
Yes.
All day.
That's
like, if you want to go do something, I'm going, right?
I know.
She said to this girl, she was like, I said I don't want to go to the swings. I'm happy for y'all to go, and I'll be here when you get back, and we can play then.
Yeah.
And I just looked at her like, who are you?
That is, like, I just look at
That's impressive.
It is so impressive. And I'm like, if I had, like, do you know where I would be in life?
Listen, right now, if you said, let's go do something, I'm like, all right. Like, I'm not even joking.
Okay. Like, sure.
It's just who I am.
We talked about it. We were supposed to go somewhere later today, and I was like, oh, I'm going to try. If I have the energy. Okay, for you, I'll go. But because it's you, but otherwise it'd be at the hotel. So yeah, I don't think they're going to have the same issue. I feel like they are very confident in their boundaries. It's going to be interesting to see how that translates into the workplace. Because again, we've worked with people in that middle generation that it's like, okay, but you still got to have a little bit of
just a little bit
discipline. You've got to show up when you need to show up. So yeah, that the balance of the yes, of the no, of the not holding any lingering regrets, and not really worrying about too much what the other person is feeling if you've done it in the right way.
You know, I would say I think that it's okay to worry about regrets, feeling guilt, or, you know, worrying about the person's response to it, but you just got to push through.
Yeah.
I think that's something. I think nobody's not, I mean, unless you really just don't give a damn, you would always worry about like, oh, is she going to be sad that I'm not coming? But at the end of the day, you realize that when you look at pictures, they didn't miss you or whatever.
Yeah,
so you can get to the point. Exactly. So I think it's a little bit of that, you know, this whole generation that we're in where everybody's so important and kind of realizing you're not.
Right. The world does not revolve around us.
I'm super important to certain people and to me.
Yeah.
But it's not the end of the world if I miss this one party.
Right.
And I think it's just very impressed. I'm very, very impressed by this these young people growing up right now.
Very confident. Not just in, like, I find, you know, especially watching like my daughter and her friends, I love watching them interact. I also love the fact that, you know, they still think I'm cool. So there's that. But just watching how, like, confident and funny they are. They don't take the world too seriously. They don't take themselves too seriously. They do what they want. Like, oh, I want to do this. But if somebody else is going left, like, they're like, I don't feel like that's where I need to go. I like being over here on the right. Like, they're
comfortable in their own skin too, in a way that as a teenager, I don't know if I would have been.
I was never, girl, I'm trying to get a little bit of that now. Like, they are just built different. I don't know if it's the comfort of this privileged life that we've given them.
I hope it is.
I hope it is, that maybe that's a benefit. But it is impressive to see that they don't seem to be struggling in this way of what a boundary means in terms of your perception. Yeah. Right? They disconnected it. They're like, I wouldn't label it as a boundary. I don't know that word, you know, to be using it. But I will tell you, I do what feels right to me. And then I don't really care what other people are thinking when I make that decision for myself.
Yeah. I can imagine they're going to be horrible to have as a boss. I mean, have as an employee, though.
I just can't imagine what it feels like. Do they even have an office? Do they go to work? Do they phone it in? It's going to be fascinating. Yeah. Fascinating to see how that generation works. So some of the tools that people might use as they're trying to grow into being a person who has more boundaries. that I jotted down could be slowing down, right? So that's something I used when I started trying to say no more, or not at least saying yes to everything, is instead of the natural response being, yes, sure, I'd love to. I'm honored that you would consider me. Thank you. I would pause and say, oh my gosh, thank you for thinking of me. Let me check my calendar and get back to you. Or let me check with, my team, when I have an executive assistant. That was amazing because she was the buffer. I'd be like, let's roll her in and let her check the calendar. And then she and I would sit down and have a meeting and we'd go, yes, no, that. So to have pause helps you really think about, is this a worthy yes? And if it's a no, you can kind of craft a way to land safely and softly where you don't necessarily completely check yourself out of any future opportunities that might work for you.
Yeah, I like that. I would say use other people to your advantage.
Yeah.
So when I don't want to do something, I will blame it on my husband.
Oh.
Or I'll say, I got to check with him. And then I'll be like, oh, he ain't no fun. He don't want to do it.
And
right?
He's okay with playing this role?
Well, he don't know he plays that role, but it's probably true. Let's be real.
True.
He don't want to go.
Right. But he's the buffer.
Or like when my studio manager, especially with clients, if something needed to happen or whatever, I'm like, well, I got to check with such and such because when I get back to the office, even though I look like I'm running stuff, I ain't. Like I do a lot of that where I can just put it on somebody else in a way that isn't, it doesn't diminish who I am. Yeah. But it's like, I don't know.
Yeah.
So no, Dale isn't always the reason I can't do stuff.
Poor Dale. I love that though. The using the person as a buffer. And in every instance that you've described, except for maybe Dale, which it sounds like he's still cool with it too, that person knows their role. And they are happy to be that buffer for you.
And I tell them in advance. Like I wouldn't not tell her that, hey, I'm telling them this.
Right. And so this is how we're gonna work with it. Another thing that I thought just in researching for this episode that I found as an idea that might work is a weekly review of everything that you said yes to. So I do remember like whenever I was working with a consulting firm a year and a half ago, dear, bless those two ladies. They were really, really trying to get a handle on my calendar and like really, really, really pushing me. Like, you just got to say no to everything. And I was like, that ain't happening. I don't know who you thought you were working with, but do you know me? I'm not saying no to everything, especially if it's something I've dreamed of and that I'm working this hard to be able to experience.
Were they trying to get you hustle adjacent?
The premise of that consulting firm was I had told them, to be fair to them, that I wanted to build this 20 plus person operation. And so what they were saying was, well, to build that, you have to be all in on the vision of being in your office. Okay. That means you have to say no to all these other things that you're doing. So I was like, I don't like that. And so out of that, out of that came, okay, well, that's causing me to have to be really honest with myself about this vision for the 20%. And I just chose that to be the no. Yeah. Like that's the whole point of hustle. If you tell me that in order to achieve what I'm telling you I want, same thing we do with our clients, right? I told you I wanted a 20 plus person team that was doing international projects, multiple locations, blah, blah, blah. That's the vision. Horrible. That's what I wanted though. Because I don't know how to do anything small.
Sounds exhausting.
Well, that's what I had envisioned. They're like, okay, bet we could do that, but that's going to take all of you. All of you. And I was like,
that makes sense.
I don't want to do that. Yeah. I've worked really hard to be able to actually create the space to do these things that I'm realizing I'm passionate about, which is more about me being part of the creative and also being paid for my mind and not my labor. That's what I want. I don't want to be pushing it up the hill. I don't want to be the one moving the sofa into place anymore. Like, I want to have teams of people who can do that, but I want to be free. I kept saying, I want to be free. And they were like, freedom don't live here.
People don't live with 20 people that you got to feed.
Chain, desk, you. Yeah. And that was very difficult to face. But the first powerful no was to them to say no.
They didn't talk themselves out of job.
I mean, they were very good about taking that, going to terminate this contract because there's nothing else. But that was really, really eye-opening for me. And what they were trying to show me in those contentious meetings was, if you say yes to all these things,
it makes sense.
You're saying you're overstretching yourself. You're saying no to other things. What's it going to be? And I was like, I just don't believe that the thing I would say no to would be the things you have on your list. That's where we have a different angle. What you're causing me to do is to face the reality of, if I'm really wanting to say yes to those things, then I got to say no over here.
Yeah.
I got to say no over here.
Yeah.
And it changed everything.
You know, it's funny because I have a very similar story, except I was working with a consultant. This was a couple of years, maybe 2 years ago. And one of my things is, I have a nonprofit that does, we renovate women's shelters. And I love it, right?
Yeah.
I love it. But the premise of it has always been that we take profits from the design firm to do this project. So it's like 10% of the profits would go to the nonprofit, and then we could do the projects. There's obviously a very limited amount of projects we could do based on that. We never fundraise or anything separately. And this consultant was like, well, you say you want to do this, you want to do more of these projects, you want to be and get involved in more, but you also need more help because it's a lot to do and blah, blah, blah. And it was like, so you need more money, and you also should only be working with clients who believe in your community impact goals, right? So what he had me do was add into every one of my contracts a mandatory $5,000 donation from their fee. It's already in their fee.
Yeah.
Goes to the nonprofit. He was like, so think about that. You have 12 projects.
That's right.
That's $60,000.
Yeah.
That's at least a part-time person to come in and run the nonprofit for you.
Yes. We like that consultant.
And so I started doing that probably a year and a half ago. And that's how I was able to hire the nonprofit consultant. And we have this whole plan for 2026 to really take it to the next level. So it's been magical.
And I'm excited for you. And I think, we talk a lot about how we are hyper aware as empathetic people of what we do and how it can feel at sometimes very superficial with the weight of everything that's happening in the world.
Right.
And how do we still retain the value that we know we bring while walking in integrity and also feeling like it makes sense to be focused on what we're doing over here and talking about it and posting on social media when the world is practically burning down around us, right? So the fact that you can tie your passion and your skills and your gifts into something that pours into the community, that is so exciting. That's part of this whole hustle adjacency thing, right? It's like, this is a natural jump for me to be able to create the margin to at least explore what that might look like, right? You don't know exactly what it's going to be, but to be able to do that. And then for me, like I told you, it became so clear for me that I don't want to be doing the design work in terms of running a firm every day.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more for me. I feel like I have different, gifts and skills and interests. I don't know what the next job looks like. And I do think it's always going to be, design adjacent. Next podcast. But I just feel like there's more.
Yeah.
I feel like there's more that I can and should be doing that can have a bigger impact on the world. And so this process, this journey, this season of discovery is like, how do we continue to do the work to create the space to have the capacity to explore what that's going to be?
Yeah, I love that. And just to go back, one of the things that I said when I was pushed to do this is like, I don't feel like that's fair. People should give money to the causes that they care about. Like, who am I to say you have to give money? And it was like, well, you don't want to be aligned with people who wouldn't want to give money to your organization. And that is a perfectly safe statement to say. Like, one, you're not working with people who can't afford to give, right? And they can still give to the charities they care about. But you want them to also say, I believe in what you're doing too here. And therefore you get it.
Yep. And I love the level of transparency in that, because imagine if you didn't. Well, imagine if you didn't have it parsed out that way, didn't have it in your contract. You were doing things that meant their money was going in a place that they didn't know about, right? And then they had feelings one day about that. Like, not that they're wrong. They just didn't know that's what you were doing. So for what he's pushed you to do is to put it in their face. And then you can have a healthy conversation about, this is what I'm doing and why. And I think that gives you more credibility in their eyes, because they see you as...
It also gives them more skin in the game. So before it was just profits, right? They didn't know if it was from their project or not or whatever. And now you have skin in this game.
That's right.
You, and listen, if y'all want to give more, I should start saying that.
We should.
Like, this can be changed. Please let me
you can
know.
always give more than what's in the contract. But that's great, because there's impact.
Yeah.
There's a greater impact on that. And it's really important in this time where, again, what we do is changing lives, because we deal with the spaces that people interact with every single day. But to be able to do that in a way that also benefits someone else
Yeah.
I think it's just beautiful. So good job,
it.
Kelly. Good job. Okay, so can we move into our whispering? I know. The whispering
report. You have to go first this time.
Well, it makes sense for our whispering report to really have something to do with boundaries. Are we winning? Are we losing? I would say I'll give myself a C. I give myself a C and about maybe a D.
Wait, are we talking? So I thought we were going to think, or how are we thinking of this? Are we thinking of boundaries we are enforcing, boundaries we aren't enforcing?
I think we have to talk about both. We have to talk about what we weren't enforcing.
Yeah.
But like in the framework of what weren't we enforcing that we're enforcing now? Or what should we start enforcing? That's how I feel like we can look at this. Okay. Oh.
Okay, I have one that I'm not enforcing.
Okay.
So I think it even says in our contract that you are not supposed to text me as a client. Mm-hmm. First of all, anybody who texts me, I lose text all the time. So when you texting me something important and then next week you mad because I don't remember, that's on you, right? Yeah. But we don't. So if it's not, I'm running 5 minutes late.
Yep.
Here's the key code.
Yep.
Or something very administrative. Mm-hmm. You are not supposed to text me. So in theory, what we do is we have 2 ways to deal with it. Either one, if you get a text, you respond via email.
Yes, put them right back on track.
And 2, we keep playing with like Slack has a thing where you can text to a Google Voice number. Mm-hmm. So every client would have their Slack channel, right? And so that would come with a number.
Oh.
So they text it to Slack. And so technically it's texting, cool. But it's not, right?
Okay.
So point is, we don't do none of that.
Yeah.
Now, I might start out a project doing that. And then by the next thing, I got 1,000 texts from the client. Some of them important, some of them not. Mm-hmm. I'm getting in trouble because I missed one that said they wanted black hardware and not brass hardware. And I saw it, but I forgot or whatever.
That's why there's a process.
And it's been torture. And the biggest problem is once you start,
you can't. No.
It's hard to get them to stop.
Yes. Because everybody's number one, text is primary for everything.
That's why it's hard to say no text, but it really is bad.
Yeah.
So I have failed.
Yeah. That's hard though. That's a hard one. I've threatened to do 2 phones, one business phone, one, but then I'm like,
I don't even want to carry the one phone.
I know. That's what I feel like too. The texting is hard. I'm pretty good about that for the most part, but then every now and then there's a client that is like, I try to keep them back on the email track and I'm not the best at that because at some point you got to be rude and be like, look, stop texting me.
Right.
So I do feel like there's growth I can have on that front. But what I will say is a boundary that I have really started to set and keep is the awareness of a client's emergency and my emergency not being the same thing. It was the client experience of a client that, would be like hot and cold. Everything's urgent versus I need something from that person and then it would be days or weeks before they would even respond. And so it was this real inconsistency that I was like, we're not doing that, number one. But number 2, whenever that person did decide they were like hot and needed something immediately or needed something Monday and it's a Friday, where I really, really just was able to be like, not doing it. No, because it's not necessary. It's not going to allow me to show up my best.
Right.
My team, whoever's helping me is my best. It's going to compromise you. It's not going to be good for anyone. And it's not needed. Like if you got a Hail Mary get out of jail ticket, this is not the one to use it on. Right? That's the way I would frame it. And that is a new way of moving in this past year that before I would have just said yes. I've been like, it's Friday afternoon. You need you need a Monday. Okay. I'll work all weekend to make it happen. I would. I have worked till 3 a.m. I have worked Saturdays and Sundays just because I told the client I'm always going to be ready.
Yeah.
You're not going to catch me slipping.
So on the wall of our Oakland office, we literally have it in vinyl that says there's no such thing as a design emergency.
It's the truth.
Ain't nothing an emergency.
Not that I can fix.
Right. What? You ain't got no hot water. Whose problem's that?
Right.
I didn't do it.
Right.
There's literally nothing
that I can do
outside of I don't even know what I can come up with that's a design emergency that you need to harass my staff or me
about
randomly.
No.
And so
I like that you had that.
I had a signature one holiday that was like, well, Joy Street Design is closed for whatever, blah, blah, blah. If this is a design emergency, ... it's not. We'll see you in the new year.
That's funny. I might try that.
I just really don't believe believe that.
No, it's actually the truth.
And it's like sometimes I think clients just need to get a wake-up call.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying you can't be disappointed something's not right or whatever.
Right.
But you don't have any right to ruin my weekend. The only reason I'm working overtime or working to 3 a.m. is because I didn't do something I was supposed to do.
Right.
That was a reasonable deadline, right? Because
Yes.
was just messing around and not doing stuff.
That's right.
Or somebody told me they wanted to go to a party and I did, whatever, right? So I think that's when I'm willing to work hard.
Yeah.
But I'm not coming up with these arbitrary deadlines when it's not needed. It's wanted.
Yeah, but it's not needed. And my experience has been when I have very clearly said it that way, it's like, oh yeah, you're right. I'm not happy about it, but you're right.
There's a lot of things I ain't happy about.
Yeah.
Right now, a lot.
Right.
Let's be real.
Well,
okay.
Boundaries are clarity. They're not cruelty. They're not punishment. They're not hostility. And if you communicate them right, and if you are really intentional about the conversations on how and why you're moving differently to create capacity, then you shouldn't be deemed as a villain. That's, I guess, the moral of the story. I don't think that you'll be seen as a villain or labeled as a villain by anybody who is appreciative and respectful of you choosing yourself.
And I would say, if they call you a villain, let them. And keep it moving.
That's right. Keep it moving.
You got to protect your peace.
That's exactly right. So on that note, we're going to wrap up this episode. We hope that you've enjoyed it. Let us know in the comments, in the reviews, in the DMs. What boundaries are you setting? Have you struggled with feelings of guilt or anxiety or, dare I say, being the villain? We want to keep the conversation going, and we hope that you come back and listen to another episode of the Hustle Chasing podcast.
Thanks for joining us.